In the sweltering heat of City C, a seemingly unremarkable apartment complex was surrounded by entertainment reporters wielding cameras. A head wrapped tightly in a silk scarf suddenly appeared at the inconspicuous stairwell near the elevator. The pair of bright, lively eyes scanned the crowd, waiting for the right moment. She pulled out sunglasses to cover her eyes and began to walk along the wall, head down.
Whispering, "Grandpa's grandpa is called great-grandpa."
Just as she was about to reach the exit, her phone rang, drawing all eyes towards her. In this scorching weather, wrapping her head so tightly was like waving a red flag. Someone pointed at her and shouted, and the reporters, like starving wolves, charged towards her with their cameras.
Terrified, John Anderson. Look at the mess you've caused. Why didn't you warn me about the reporters? If I don't make it out alive today, I'll drag you down with me.
Excited, boss, quick. I see you. Look to your right, there's a black Mercedes. No time to explain, just get in.
Emily quickly took off her sunglasses and saw the black Mercedes to her right. Glancing back at the approaching wolves, she didn't hesitate. She sprinted to the car, yanked open the door, and jumped into the back seat, slamming the door shut behind her.
Relieved, John Anderson, for once, you've done something right.
She removed the scarf from her head, revealing her delicate, still frightened face. She soon realized the car's atmosphere was eerily quiet. Too quiet for John Anderson.
Whispering, something's not right.
A bad feeling crept over her. She swallowed hard and glanced to her side, locking eyes with the person next to her for 3 long seconds. Her expression froze.
Angry, you. Jacob Harrison?
There was no denying he had a striking face. A few strands of short, wavy hair fell over his forehead, his lips were habitually pressed into a thin line, and his nose was as prominent as a mountain peak. Every feature was perfectly proportioned, and a small mole under his left eye added a touch of allure and coldness to his appearance. His dark eyes were calm and expressionless as he looked at her, the intruder. He didn't say a word or make a move, but Emily was already terrified. Though she had never interacted with him before, she had heard plenty about him. As a struggling actress, her career had just begun. With rumors and reporters already hounding her, the last thing she needed was to get into this man's car. Was fate trying to end her quickly?
Serious, miss, are you alright?
Nervous, I'm sorry. I'll get out right away.
Calm drive.
Emily was stunned, turning to look at Jacob in disbelief. Mr. Wilson was momentarily surprised, glancing at Emily through the rearview mirror before flooring the gas pedal, skillfully losing the reporters.
Hopeful, Mr. Harrison, I can explain. I didn't mean to get in the wrong car. It's just.
Seeing he was unmoved and still staring at her, Emily felt increasingly guilty. She forced a stiff smile.
Shy, you might not believe it, but your car looks just like the one picking me up. I got confused.
Her voice grew weaker and less confident.
Curious. Really now?
Jacob's expression suddenly turned strange. He raised an eyebrow and looked at her with an inexplicable gaze.
Terrified, what are you doing?
Jacob suddenly leaned closer, making her scream and press against the car door.
Amused, relax.
Jacob raised an eyebrow, then smiled at her, his deep eyes twinkling like stars. It was enough to drown someone. He quickly returned to normal, nearly leaning over to fasten her seatbelt before sitting back and closing his eyes to rest. Emily blinked, still overwhelmed by the lingering male scent. She remained pressed against the car door, too scared to breathe deeply. Emily knew that the man beside her, Jacob Harrison, was a legend in the entertainment industry. He was untouchable, with a mysterious background and immense influence. Even the toughest directors wouldn't dare cross him.
Hopeful, maybe if I keep my head down, he won't notice me.
Casual, where to?
Jacob's sudden question startled Emily. She pressed herself against the car door, trying to stay as far from him as possible.
Nervous, just drop me off at any intersection. No need to trouble you, Mr. Harrison.
Raising an eyebrow, are you sure?
Anxious, can I be sure?
Jacob's intense gaze made her feel uncomfortable. She decided to get off at an automatic gas station, even though it was almost dark and she had no idea where they were.
Relieved, finally, I'm out of that nerve-wracking situation.
Emily sent her location to John Anderson and paced around the gas station, regretting her mistake of getting into the wrong car. Jacob watched her from a hidden corner, his deep eyes fixed on her.
Uneasy, boss. If you're worried, should we pick her up again?
Calmly, she can handle it.
Suddenly, a white van stopped in front of Emily. A sleazy-looking man with a gold chain around his neck and yellow teeth smiled at her.
Friendly. Waiting for a ride, young lady? It's getting dark, and it's hard to find a cab. How about I give you a lift?
Firmly, no, thank you. My friend is coming to pick me up soon.
Emily's high ponytail and delicate features made her stand out. She was wearing a crop top and shorts, her slim waist and long legs fully exposed to the sleazy man's gaze. He scanned her from head to toe, his eyes almost popping out.
Lecherous. You look pretty innocent. Are you sure you don't need a ride?
Emily frowned and took 2 more steps back, feeling uncomfortable.
Concerned, boss. We can't just watch her fall into danger.
Amused, she can handle it.
That large man indeed started to make inappropriate advances, even uttering a string of foul words. Before he could finish speaking, he impatiently lunged at her.
Enough!
Emily Williams had reached the limit of her patience. She was no longer the timid person she had been in the car. Unexpectedly, she delivered a swift kick, followed by a spinning kick to his face, grabbed one of his arms and twisted it forcefully, then kicked him hard on the backside. Her movements were clean and decisive, without the slightest hesitation. Clearly, she was well trained. The large man finally realized he had messed with the wrong person. He scrambled to his feet and fled in a panic.
Note the license plate number and deal with it later.
Yes, sir.
Hearing this order, Mr. Wilson stiffly nodded, quietly observing Jacob Harrison's expression. It had been a long time since he had seen him look like this. It wasn't long before a black Mercedes arrived. This time, Emily Williams got into the car on her own and quickly disappeared from sight. Mr. Wilson waited for Jacob Harrison's next instruction through the rearview mirror.
Let's go.
Driving steadily on the road, Mr. Wilson still couldn't understand why Jacob Harrison treated that young woman differently. He couldn't help but ask.
Boss, do you know her?
Jacob Harrison didn't answer, slightly raising his jade-like chin. The stars outside the car window reflected in his eyes, and a faint, ambiguous smile gradually appeared on his lips. At the entrance of the VIP room in the KTV.
Can I change into a different dress? This one feels strange.
Emily Williams was wearing high heels and a black off-shoulder bodycon dress that perfectly outlined her figure. The outfit was both mature and alluring, yet her pure appearance added a unique charm.
This dress is really not working for me.
Boss, with your figure and looks, if you don't star in the world as a song, it would be the show's loss.
Is this the time for flattery?
Still feeling out of place, she was about to retreat.
No, I need to change my dress.
Boss, are you chickening out?
No, it's just that Sandy Parker's outfit doesn't suit me. I need to change it, or it will affect my performance.
Seeing her about to escape, John blocked her.
Boss, you're here to socialize, not perform martial arts. What performance are you talking about?
I need to use the restroom. Can I go to the restroom first?
Boss, you promised Sandy Parker you'd do this. If you back out now, she'll be furious.
How about you cover for me? Tell her I was here.
Enough talk, let's go.
John impatiently pushed her into the room, closing the door behind her.
Hi.
Inside, the room was lively with people drinking and chatting. Her sudden entrance drew everyone's attention. Seeing her beauty, someone tried to get her to drink, but after just one glass, she was drunk.
Go home often, even if it's just to help mom wash the dishes, cough cough. Hey, friends over there, where's the applause?
Drunk, with flushed cheeks, Emily Williams held the microphone, singing and rambling. The executives who had intentions towards her couldn't get close, as she would immediately start vomiting.
Next, I'll sing a song for all the dads here. Let's give a round of applause.
The room fell silent, with some looking displeased.
Time, slow down, don't let you grow old, cough cough.
Her singing was off-key, and she couldn't finish a sentence without vomiting. Her delicate features scrunched up, and after vomiting, she smiled at everyone.
Sorry, I got a bit emotional. I'll be right back, don't go anywhere.
Saying this, she walked straight into a wall, pushing and kicking it, confused as to why it wouldn't open. A girl, unable to watch any longer, led her to the actual door.
Thank you, you're such a good person. Good people will be blessed.
I'll take you to the restroom.
No need, I can manage.
With that, she staggered out the door. After using the restroom, Emily Williams was completely disoriented, her mind a blur, unsure of where she was or what to do next. She walked aimlessly, barefoot on the cold tiles, feeling the chill to her bones. Having emptied her stomach, she was experiencing stomach cramps. Leaning against the wall, clutching her stomach, she felt miserable. John Anderson was nowhere to be found, and in this chaotic place, fainting would be dangerous for a girl like her. As she battled her thoughts, a handsome face appeared before her. His eyes were dark and deep, his nose high and straight, his lips thin and tight, his skin glowing with a holy light, like a deity descending.
Who are you?
Emily looked up, seeing his exposed neck, its texture and color more delicate and enticing than jade. Biting her lip, her eyes glazed over, her mind completely adrift.
Are you okay?
Those eyes were also fixed on her, the deity's brows furrowing. Overwhelmed by his beauty, Emily's mind stopped working. She leaned forward, falling into his arms, clutching his clothes.
Cough cough.
The unpleasant smell of vomit spread all over Jacob Harrison. Everyone was shocked. Jacob Harrison had a cleanliness obsession. Even without that being vomited on. Silently, they lit a candle for the drunk woman. Jacob frowned but, surprisingly, didn't push her away. Instead, he supported the nearly collapsing woman.
Give me your coat.
The assistant snapped out of his shock, handing over his coat. Jacob wrapped her in the coat, lifted her, and gave the crowd a warning look. He carried her into the car, intending to place her on the adjacent seat and remove his soiled clothes. However, she clung tightly to his lapel, refusing to let go, so he had no choice but to let her lie in his arms.
R. Wilson, observing from the front, noted the strong smell of alcohol emanating from the girl and the pervasive stench of vomit in the car.
If it were anyone else, Jacob Harrison would have thrown both the person and the clothes out of the car.
There are some paparazzi outside. Contact someone to handle it.
Perhaps influenced by the girl in his arms, his voice was unusually warm, even somewhat pleased.
R. Wilson responded stiffly and mechanically opened the car door to step out, finally able to breathe a bit. And the warm embrace.
Do I know you?
She couldn't remember if he answered, as her head grew heavier, and she finally let her guard down and fell asleep. The hangover was brutal. As soon as she woke up, her head throbbed painfully. Squinting her eyes open, she found herself in a beautifully decorated bedroom, lying on a soft bed in a completely unfamiliar environment.
Where am I?
Soon, a woman dressed as a housekeeper entered the room. Seeing Emily awake, she smiled warmly and handed her a bowl of hot soup.
Young lady, you're finally awake. The young master instructed me to give you this hangover soup.
Thank you, but where am I?
Don't worry, young lady. Your dress was dirty, so the young master asked me to change your clothes.
Is your young master's name Mo?
Our young master's surname is Harrison.
Harrison?
Trying to recall if she knew anyone named Harrison, Emily's mind raced. Just then, the hangover soup took full effect, clearing the last bit of her drunkenness. The events before she passed out last night replayed in her mind like a movie.
Are you sure your young master's surname is Harrison?
Mrs. Johnson was startled by her reaction and didn't have time to answer before Jacob Harrison appeared at the door. There was no need for Mrs. Johnson to answer, the truth was evident.
Melise stared at him, her eyes vacant for several seconds. Only after Mrs. Johnson left and closed the door did she snap out of it, recalling everything that happened yesterday. She was instantly filled with panic.
I'm doomed! Not only was my future at stake, but my life was also hanging by a thread.
Do you remember what you did last night?
Melise's face flushed, red as a boiled crab. Unable to escape, she finally resigned herself, tightly closing her eyes and turning her head away, ready to face the consequences.
Drunken misconduct, unintentional offense. Do what you will.
Akab's eyes darkened, displeased with her attitude.
First, you got into my car by mistake. Then, you clung to me and vomited all over me. Let me think, were these coincidences?
Believe it or not, they really were coincidences.
I swear I didn't mean to.
Last night, you were quite bold. You clung to me, kissing and biting. Do you think you can just brush it off as drunken misconduct?
Emily's eyes widened in shock.
I can't believe I kissed someone because of drinking. This is a disaster.
She knew she had a poor tolerance for alcohol, but this was beyond her expectations. She gathered her courage and looked at Jacob.
Jacob, I thought taking advantage of someone was mutual. I'm an innocent girl, so I think I suffered more. We're all adults, and a kiss or two isn't a big deal, so can we just forget about it?
Her confidence waned as she spoke, sounding like a deflated balloon by the end.
What made you think you could take advantage of me and then walk away unscathed?
Take advantage? Was I really that bold last night?
Emily froze, too scared to speak coherently.
Mr. Harrison, did you use the wrong words? I remember we didn't do anything last night.
She tried to recall everything that happened last night, but her memory stopped at biting his neck before completely blacking out.
Do you really not remember what you said to me last night?
Huh?
Jacob squinted at her, seeing that she clearly didn't remember.
Last night, you said you liked me and couldn't live without me.
What? No, I think there might be some misunderstanding. There's no way those words came from me. Absolutely not.
So you think I'm lying to you?
No, I don't dare.
Emily was at a loss, feeling that anything she said would be wrong. She had no choice but to ask directly.
Mr. Harrison, are you here to make me take responsibility or to vent your anger?
Responsibility?
Seeing his cold eyebrow raise, Emily was sure it was a question.
So he meant to vent his anger.
Seeing her face turn pale at an alarming rate, almost to the point of tears, Jacob finally paused, deciding to stop teasing her.
I can overlook what happened today and even pretend it never happened. But in exchange, you must agree to one thing.
What is it?
Be my girlfriend.
Ah.
Didn't hear me? Do you want me to say it again? Girlfriend.
And just like that, Emily Williams had an actor boyfriend.